So good morning all of you students, and today's class is for class 7 SST chapter 8. Okay, so chapter name is Devotional Paths to the Divine. Okay, in the live classes I have completed till half the chapter, and half of the chapter I thought you should be getting your YouTube video for that. Okay, so if you are going to study this chapter, take out your books and move on to page 83. Move on to page number 83. Okay, so let us start from here. We have completed till the Siddhas and the Yogis, and now we are going on from the Sufism topic. Okay, I have written something on the board. You are getting the visual over there, and you can follow from there, from Sufism. Okay, so let us see what is there. The Muslim saints also preached toleration. Saints like Salim Chishti and Nizamuddin Auliya did much in this direction. The Sufi saints believed in the true bhakti. As a result, the Hindus and the Muslims came closer. Okay, so the Muslim saints also came into this bhakti movement, and they also preached toleration amongst each other and brotherhoodness amongst each other. Okay, namely some of the Sufi saints were Salim Chishti and Nizamuddin Auliya, and they also have their own places near Delhi and all, and people go there still now. Did much in this direction. The Sufi saints believed in the true bhakti. They believed in the true bhakti, not in falsified or idol worship or rituals, doing rituals or something like that. In true worship means worshipping the true God or the ultimate God, the supreme power. Okay, they believed in that. As a result, the Hindus and the Muslims came closer. As a result, what happened? All the Hindus and the Muslims had a common goal towards each other, and they came closer to each other. The word Sufi has been derived from the Arabic word Suf. Okay, the word Sufi has came from, or it has been derived from the Arabic word Suf. Suf is a kind of black woolen cloth which the Sufi saints often wore. Suf was a black woolen cloth, okay, which the Sufi saints used to generally wear around themselves. That is why they were named as Sufi. Okay, on the name of Suf. Sufi saints laid great emphasis on the principles of Tawbah, repentance, and Tawakkul, trust in God. Okay, Sufi saints had a very deep, deep feeling or courage or guts to have that you can do your Tawbah and Taqwa. Okay, the two basic principles for becoming Sufi saints or preaching Sufism to the people was the two basic principles was that one was taqwa and one was tawbah. So tawbah is something like this, that tawbah is repentance. In English we can say repentance means asking for sorry from the Lord, or asking a plea grant from the Lord for all the sins you have done in your life. Okay, whatever sins or ungrateful things you have done in your life, you can ask a tawbah or do a tawbah in front of the Lord or the God, and you can start living a good life after that. That is tawbah. And now taqwa. What is taqwa? Taqwa is actually a great deep respect and belief in God. That you should believe in God first of all. Then only you can think that okay, I should do tawbah or not. First you should believe in God only. So believe in God was one of the major principles, that you should believe in God, and second one was tawbah. Tawbah was actually that you can do repentance of your own sins, whatever you have done in your life. The Sufis or the mystic saints emphasized on love and compassion towards all human beings. They rejected elaborate rituals and emphasized on personal devotion and love for God. They disregarded all the rituals and everything, any kind of rituals they are doing, that was removed by or discarded by the Sufi saints. But it was the self-devotion and love towards the God. Sufi saints used to teach or preach the people about the self-devotion towards the Lord and the love of God. The followers of Sufism followed the Sufi path called Tariqa under the guidance of the Pir. Okay, the Sufi saints used to call the followers or tell to the followers that you should follow the proper worshipping of God, or proper way of showing love towards your God by following your peers. Okay, and that those peers would be showing you the tariqa. Tariqa means over here the way. the way of worshipping your God. The peers would be telling you. Peer over here means the saints, sadhu saints. They would be telling you. Okay. The hospice of Khanka was the center of the activities of a Sufi order. The hospice or the Khanka. In English it is known as hospice, or in Arabic language it is known as haus khas. Okay. English it is known as hospice, and Khanka is an Urdu language. Okay, Khanka was the center of the activity of the Sufi order. It was the place where the Pir imparted spiritual training to his disciples or murids. It was the place where the Pirs or the saints used to give them proper training to their disciples or the murids. Okay, these khankas were supported by endowment and charity. These khankas or these charitable places, these social places were supported by the endowment of the charity, and the charity, whatever charity money they are getting from outside, it used to run from that only. The earliest Sufi to settle in India was Al-Hujuri. The first Sufi that settled in India was Al-Hujuri. Okay, Al-Hujuri was the author of Kashful Mahjab. Al-Hujuri was the author of the Kashful Mahjab, a famous Persian treatise on Sufism. It was a famous Persian treatise. Treatise means book on Sufism. What is Sufism? What does it deal with? And all those things are written in that book. Okay. After that, we are coming back to Nizamuddin Aulia. Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia. It is in the Dargah is in New Delhi. Old Delhi is in Delhi. You can anybody goes there, you can visit there. He was one of the great Muslim saints. He was born in 1238 AD at Badaयूं. He took birth in Badaयूं, Uttar Pradesh. When he was only 5 years old, his father died. He was brought up by his mother. In Delhi, he received education under learned teachers and soon became a scholar. In Delhi, he took his education after his father's death with his mother, and soon he became a great scholar. Okay. Then he went to Sheikh Farid, who was the greatest saint of his time. Then he went to Sheikh Farid, who was the greatest saint of that time. Sheikh Farid readily accepted him as his disciple. Sheikh Farid readily accepted him as his disciple. Why? Because he was already a great scholar that time. Okay, Sheikh Farid foretold Nizamuddin, "You will be a tree under whose soothing shadow and people will rest." Sheikh Farid used to tell Nizamuddin that you will become a tree under whose shadow many people will be taking rest. Okay, like that. Nizamuddin proved himself true to this, and Nizamuddin proved true to his words, Sheikh Farid's word. Now you can see that Sheikh Nizamuddin has his own dargah and all, and a lot of people are taking rest and having a great time near his dargah. Okay, now his dargah is working as or providing a facility like a soothing place over there. Okay, Farid named Nizamuddin as his successor, and Sheikh Farid appointed him as his successor. Successor, you know, in Hindi it is known as Uttradhikari. Okay, finally Nizamuddin settled down in small village near Delhi. Finally Nizamuddin settled down in a small village near Delhi. This place is now known as Nizamuddin, and this place is now known as Nizamuddin Aulia's Dargah. Okay, you can see the picture of the Dargah of Nizamuddin Aulia is given over there. After that, Nizamuddin was a friend of the poor people and the needy. Nizamuddin was very friendly towards the poor and the needy people. He maintained a langar, free kitchen for them. He always used to maintain a free langar for the poor people. Okay, he had given strict instructions that whatever donations were received during the day must be spent by the same evening. Thousands of poor were fed daily at the langar, and he used to say that whatever donations are coming in the full day, it should be spent till that evening only. Okay, it was a strict instructions to his followers, so that a lot of poor people should be fed over there. Nizamuddin died in 1328 AD and was buried in the room in which he lived. A small tomb was built over his grave. Every year, a function called Urus Nizamuddin is celebrated at his dargah tomb. People from all over the country come to pay homage to this great saint, and they sing qawwalis in his praise. Okay, So in 1328 he died, and he was buried under his room only, and a small tomb was made around his room, that is known as a dargah. And every year urus is celebrated over there. Urus is, that is the a type of celebration or function over there, and lot of people all over the world or all over India move over there, go over there and praise that man, and sing qawwalis in his name. Okay, qawwalis means a type of song only, but we don't say it as song because it is a qawwali. Qawwali is sung for somebody's praiser. When we are praising somebody, it is sung for them. Okay. Now, Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti. After that, who is the Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti? He was a great Muslim saint. His dargah is at Ajmer. Both Hindus and Muslims pay homage at Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti. Before going to Hajj, Indian and Pakistani Muslims first visit Nizamuddin Dargah and then Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti. Khwaja Sahib had many disciples, of whom Amir Khusro was one. Okay, so Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti was a great Muslim saint. His dargah is at Ajmer, Rajasthan. Both Hindus and Muslims pay homage to Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti. Both the Muslims and Hindus all go there to visit him. Before going to Hajj, before people go to Hajj in Makkah Medina in Saudi Arabia, people go and visit Nizamuddin Dargah and Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti's dargah. Okay. Khwaja Sahib had many disciples, of whom Amir Khusro was one. Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti had many disciples. One of his disciples was Amir Khusro. If you don't know, Amir Khusro is one of the great poets of the Indian subcontinent in this modern times, till now. Okay. He was a great poet and musician. He composed many poems in his master's praise, and he used to compose great poems in his master, that is Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti's praise. Okay, you can see the picture of the Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti's dargah at the night time. Okay, that is the Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti. Now, some new religious development took place in India also. Okay, first one we can conclude it as your Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak was born in 1469 AD in a small village called Talwandi near Lahore. Okay, Guru Nanak was born in 1469 AD in a small village called Talwandi near Lahore, now in Pakistan. Now it is in Pakistan. Nanak was the name his parents gave him. Nanak was the actual name his parents gave him. Okay, when he grew up to be a great teacher, he was called Guru. When he grew up and became a great teacher, he was then given the title as Guru. That is why it is said as Guru Nanak. Okay, which means teacher. Nanak soon gave up his worldly life and meditated hard to attain true knowledge. And Nanak soon left his worldly life, his social life, and started meditation for gaining the true knowledge like Buddha and all. Okay. Then he spent his life in the service of God. He set out preaching to the people and singing hymns in praise of God. He set out from his home and went to people from one place to another, preaching and singing hymns in praise of God. Nanak started composing devotional poems at an early age. The poems and hymns that he wrote throughout his life have been compiled in a book called Guru Granth Sahib. Okay. So, whatever poems or songs he has written in the praisal of God, it is compiled together in a book called Guru Granth Sahib. It is one of the religious textbooks or holy books of the Sikh community. It is sacred books of the Sikhs. It is the sacred books of the Sikhs. Okay. It also includes the sayings of many Hindu and Muslim saints. It also includes the sayings or the poems or shlokas of many of the Hindus and Muslim saints also. Okay. Many people become his followers and they were later known as Sikhs. Many followers who later became his followers and increased in number day after day, and later on they were called as Sikhs. Their followers were named as Sikhs. The word Sikh means disciple. Okay, the word Sikh means disciple, or one who learns, or one who is the person who is coming here or coming at any place to learn something. He told them to love each other and use God's name as a greeting. Satkartar, the true creator. Okay. and he said that we should love each other. His main sayings were that brotherhoodness should be there among all the people. We should love each other and greet people with the true God's name, that is Sat Kartar, and it is a Punjabi language, Sat Kartar, and its real meaning is true creator, the real creator, the ultimate power, supreme power. You can see the picture of Guru Nanak Dev also over there. Guru Nanak emphasized the importance of worship of one God. Guru Nanak gave importance of worshipping only one God, that is the supreme God, supreme power. God for Nanak was non-incarnated and formless, Nirankar. Okay, Nanak said that God is neither been created or incarnated, or neither it has any form or shape. It is Nirankar. Nirankar is a Punjabi language for that word, formless and incarnated. Okay, non-incarnated. And it is eternal, Akal. Eternal means never ending, it will never die. Okay, God is that. And ineffable, Allah. Okay, Allah, not Allah. Ineffable. Ineffable means nobody can defeat that God. Okay, nobody can defeat that God. His teachings are simple. He believed that God is one and that all men are equal in the eyes of God, irrespective of the caste, creed, and religion. He taught that honest labor, charity, and service of mankind are the best ways to worship God. His idea of liberation was not that of a state of inert bliss, but rather the pursuit of active life with a strong sense of social commitment. He chose Lehna as his successor. And whom he chose as his successor? Lehna as his successor. Okay, his name was Lehna. Lehna came to be known as Angad after the death of Guru Nanak. Lehna was named as Angad after the death of Guru Nanak in 1539 AD. Angad became the second Guru of the Sikhs. Angad became the second Guru of the Sikhs. Now the last topic which is covered in the new modern area of the religious development in India, northern India, was Kabir. Okay, so let us see Kabir over here. Kabir was one of the great saints of Bhakti Marga, Bhakti movement. He was a disciple of Ramananda. We have discussed it in the Ramananda group only. In the 15th century, it is said that he was born in a Brahmin's family. He became an orphan when he was very young. He was brought up by a Muslim couple named Nima and Niru. Okay, he was brought up by a Muslim couple. He took birth in a Brahmin family, but his parents died, so a Muslim couple or Muslim family, Nima and Niru, they took care of Kabir and they brought him up from his childhood. He was given the name of Kabir, which means great in the Arabic language. He was given the name as Kabir, and Kabir means great in Arabic language. Okay. Kabir never attended any school. Never went to any school, because Nima and Niru were very poor family, belonged to a weaver class family. They used to weave cloths and something. So he would always sit in the company of wise and holy men and would discuss with them for hours. He used to sit with wise and holy men and discuss with them with hours. Okay. He had a natural gift of composing verses. Okay. He had a natural inherent quality that he could compose verses. Compose verses means compose two-liners and say a message in 2 lines only. Okay. He had a natural gift of composing verses. He composed many poems and devotional songs. He spread the message of bhakti through their verses and songs. That he wrote. Kabir preached that God is one. Kabir also said that God is one, whether we worship him as Allah, Ram or Rahim. Whether you call him as Allah, Ram or Rahim, whatever you call him, it is only one. God cannot be found in stone images or in holy books. God cannot be found in stone images, that is idol worshipping, or in holy books also. God lives in every heart. And he used to say that God lives in every heart of every living soul. Thousands of people, Muslims and Hindus, became his followers. Kabir preached that all human beings are equal. People of different religions claimed him as their saint. People of different religion claim him that, like the Hindu religion says that he is our saint, Muslim religion says that he is our saint. Muslim regarded him as Sufi saint. The Hindus worshipped him as a Bhakta. When Kabir died, it is said that there arose a dispute over his last rituals. When Kabir died, there was a dispute among the Hindus and the Muslims that what will be his last rituals. The Hindus wanted to cremate the body while the Muslims wanted to bury it. But when the sheet was lifted from his body, they found only a heap of flowers. The Hindus and the Muslims divided these flowers amongst equally amongst them. Half of these flowers were buried by the Muslims and half was cremated by the Hindus. This is the story behind his death, that when he died, people were fighting what to do, or they were discussing what to do, and when they lifted up the cover from the dead body, they saw that the dead body is not there, only flowers are over there. So the Hindus and the Muslims divided half and half, and half of the body flowers were buried and half of the body flower was cremated by the Hindus. So this was the discussion about the chapter Devotion to Divine, Devotional Paths to the Divine in Indian subcontinent, especially in the northern India. Okay, so that is all for now. This is the chapter completed over here. Now it is your work to complete the exercise on your own. If you are getting any problem, you would be asking me in the live classes. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you.